My name is Jenny. I'm a 27-year-old nurse and currently pregnant. There's still time before my maternity leave, so I'm working hard despite feeling exhausted. My husband Trace is 35 and works as a clerk in the same hospital. Our first encounter was when he approached me during a break at work. He's a gentleman, always offering kind words when I'm worn out from night shifts. Gradually, we were drawn to each other and started dating. Not long after, we began living together. Although he's older, Trace looks younger than his age. I used to mind the age difference, but it quickly ceased to bother me. When we talk, I never feel the age gap, which makes it very comfortable. 2 years into our relationship, we discovered I was pregnant, leading to our marriage. The sequence may seem unusual, but I'm happy to be expecting a child with the man I love. We occasionally visit my parents' home. Since our apartment is close to my childhood home, we often dine together. Dinner with my parents and us is enjoyable, but there's something that concerns me. That concern is my younger sister, Daniela. Daniela, 1 year my junior at 26, works in the apparel industry, seemingly part-time. Her earnings are too modest for living alone to be practical. Thus, she still resides at our parents' home. I don't mind her being there, but her behavior is troubling. You're here again. Whenever we visit, she's almost always home. It's curious how often she's there, considering she's supposed to be working. Welcome, brother-in-law. Before speaking to me, she invariably greets my husband first.
Hello.
She interacts with him a little too closely for comfort. Even if they're now family, it's not how one should behave with their sister's husband. Hey, that's too close. He might not like it, so stop. Despite my warnings, Daniela doesn't back off. Come on, we're family. It's fine. She ignores me and pulls my husband into the house by his arm. It's irritating that he doesn't seem entirely displeased. I wish he'd push her away, considering his pregnant wife. But led by my sister, he just goes along. Welcome back. Hungry, right? Shall we go out for dinner? I'll come too. Whenever we plan to eat out, she insists on joining us. I'd like to have some time to discuss the future, but Daniela lacks such consideration.
Daniela, come with us.
It disappoints me that my husband encourages her. We're having a child and planning a wedding, yet we haven't discussed the ceremony. Ideally, we'd marry before my belly grows too big, but the delay is causing me stress. If only Daniela could be a bit more thoughtful. Seeing my husband and sister chatting amicably makes me feel lonely. Later, when I'm on night duty, my husband began going out. Off to work, then. Are you going somewhere?
Going out for dinner.
There's a certain coldness to his responses lately, compared to before. Meals have become solitary events at home, probably because he's bored. I decided not to probe any further. However, my husband's behavior has started to feel distinctly off. Could you please not look at your mobile phone during meals? Lately, he never seems to let go of his mobile phone. It's a noticeable change since he wasn't much into his phone before. He angles the screen away from me and hides it whenever I walk by. Watching him engrossed in his phone, I've grown suspicious. One day, amidst my growing disgust, I was working while he had the day off. After finishing my shift, I thought of picking up some sweets for us and took a different route home. That's when I spotted a familiar figure. Is that Daniela? It was my sister, on a path she doesn't normally take. Curious why she was there, I was about to call out to her when...
Sorry to keep you waiting.
She was looking in the direction of a familiar voice, and I instinctively hid. Geez, I've been waiting. It was my husband she was meeting up with. They walked hand in hand like a couple into a nearby restaurant. Shocked, I was frozen in place for a while, sweating profusely and unable to comprehend what was happening. From that day, I was determined to peek inside the mobile phone he was so intently focused on. But he was always carrying it, making it a difficult feat. so I played the part of a devoted wife to the hilt. Welcome home.
Back, huh? Dinner's unusually fancy tonight.
I laid out a feast I had painstakingly prepared. Once the baby's here, it'll be harder to have these quiet dinners, right? So I thought we should cherish our time together while we can. I arranged his favorite dishes and included wine and whiskey.
Right? The food looks really delicious.
He was in a good mood, drinking more quickly than usual. Once I confirmed he was fast asleep and snoring, I made my move to check his phone. It was troublesome to prepare various dishes and drinks, but it was a surefire way to look at his phone. There wasn't a password before, but now he had set one. I racked my brain and tried every pen I could think of. Then, my sister's birthday. A 4-digit number came to mind. No way. My hand shaking, I typed it in. And to my dismay, the phone unlocked. Realizing the truth about my husband and sister, I was overwhelmed with anger. I wanted to wake him up and confront him right then and there. But I restrained myself, focusing instead on gathering evidence. There it is. This is it. Reading the text, the conversation between my husband and sister was unbearable. Today was fun. Can't wait to see you again soon.
I feel the same. I can't wait to hold you.
Me too. I want a big hug. Next time, shall we go there?
Yeah, I'd like that. How about the place in front of the station?
Sounds great. Let's definitely go to a hotel next week. It seems that my husband and sister haven't actually committed adultery yet. A meal might be considered cheating enough, but it could be dismissed too easily. I was set on punishing my husband thoroughly for meeting up with my sister behind his pregnant wife's back. Now that I knew their plans to go to a hotel, I could stop them. But I chose not to. I no longer loved a husband with such scant regard for becoming a father. On the day my husband and sister were to meet, I was at work, but took some time off to follow them. My growing belly made it risky to be spotted. Despite the stress and physical toll of tailing them, I was determined not to give up until I had solid evidence. Just like the text said, they met at the station and went straight to a hotel. I hurriedly captured photos, and also took a video just to be sure. After completing my task, I returned to work and resumed my duties as if nothing had happened. The stress caused contractions, and I had to start taking medication. It felt wrong to put my unborn child through this, but I kept my spirits up. The days of getting my husband drunk to check his phone continued. Their hotel visit seemed to have dissolved any remaining restraint they had. On days I worked and he was off, they made plans to go to a hotel with high frequency. The thought of 2 adults exchanging embarrassingly intimate texts made me nauseous. Yet I diligently photographed these messages with my phone to keep as evidence. Filled with a sense of futility, I carried on with the task. It's been 2 months since my husband and sister started their affair. I've confirmed 10 hotel visits.
Going out for drinks with friends today. Can't do it once the baby comes, so I want to meet up while I can.
Sure, have fun. Lately, he's been using the transparent lie of drinks with friends to meet my sister. Feeling the limits of following them, with my now noticeable pregnancy, it's about time to move to the next phase of my plan. With 6 weeks until my due date, I've started my maternity leave. Now that I have more time at home while my husband is at work, I can move freely.
You should rest at home. It's not long until the birth.
Thanks, I will. But instead of resting, I've been busy because of my husband. I hid my plans from him as best as I could, filled with irritation. When he left for work, I decided to go to my parents' house to report everything. As usual, my sister was there. Your belly's gotten so big, it must be tough. Just over a month until the birth. It's heavy and a bit difficult. It's gotten so big, it doesn't even look like a woman's body. She seemed utterly clueless about me knowing about her deeds. Perhaps she was reveling in the superiority of sleeping with her brother-in-law. I felt nothing upon hearing my sister's snide remarks. I actually have something to talk about. I called my parents and sister into the living room and began talking about my husband and sister's affair. Simply put, Daniela and Trace are having an affair, so I'm planning to sue for compensation in the divorce proceedings. As I said this, all three were visibly shaken. An affair? Yes, an affair between my husband and Daniela.
What do you mean?
My parents were flustered while my sister desperately made excuses. What? Just because you're not getting attention from your husband with that big belly, don't blame me. My sister's loud, sweating figure was almost comical. Sure, we met up after work for a meal, but that's not cheating, right? You're too narrow-minded to label that as infidelity. Ignoring my sister's outburst, I showed the mobile phone screen to the three of them. If there had been a hint of an apology, it might have been different. Here, this is the evidence. I displayed the photos and videos of my sister and husband entering the hotel. My sister, who had ridiculed me, froze with shock at the sight. Upon comparing the evidence photos with my sister, my parents were outraged by this unimaginable scenario. Mom, reaching her boiling point, glared at my sister with a coldness I'd never seen before. Overwhelmed by the pressure, my sister pleaded, Mom, listen! What on earth have you done? I just went along because he wanted to meet. I'm the victim here. I was disgusted by my sister's self-centeredness. I also showed the text where my sister and husband first made the hotel arrangement. Looking at this, it clearly seems like Daniela was the one inviting. Don't think you can get away by blaming others. My sister, unable to find words, just trembled with clenched fists. I'll be claiming a hefty compensation in the divorce case later. Reflect on what you've done. Oh, and by the way, you can have that man once I divorce him. I declared my intention to leave the family home. My sister broke down crying. It was pathetic to cry over her own misdeeds. Hey, Mom, listen. Jenny, I'll drive you home. Let's forget about that fool.
I'm worried, so I'll go too.
Without a second glance at my sobbing sister, I got into Dad's car, but then an idea struck me. Oh, right. I have somewhere I want to take Daniela. After I explained to my parents, they both nodded. We took my sister and drove off. We were heading straight to my husband's parents' house. Father-in-law and mother-in-law said they wanted to give us an early baby gift. Can you come straight to your in-laws after work?
I can.
I had lied to my husband, calling him to his parents' home.
I'm back. Is Jenny here?
Upon arriving at his parents', my husband was surprised to find the whole family gathered.
Sit down.
Yes? He glanced at Daniela's pale face and must have understood everything, trembling and meekly taking a seat. Without any concern for my cowering husband, I presented the evidence of his affair just as I had at my parents' house. He glanced briefly at the evidence before quickly looking away, seemingly uncomfortable. Then he mumbled a feeble excuse.
We just had tea at the hotel.
You disgrace! Doing such foolish things when your wife is about to give birth.
I'm sorry.
Father-in-law and mother-in-law, who were very decent people, offered a profound apology for my husband's thoughtless actions. Since father-in-law and mother-in-law are not at fault, I have no intention of holding them responsible. I said to my husband and sister with a smile, It's okay, don't worry about it. Just a little affair. I'll be claiming $200,000 in alimony during the divorce, so it's fine.
My
husband and sister were stunned by the amount of money. You don't have to solve this with money, but please feel free to claim as much as you want in the divorce settlement. I prefer he pays for it, so please don't assist him.
We won't give any assistance. We never want to see him again.
Then my parents also said,
We'll make our daughter pay half. Let them take on debt and pay the divorce settlement. Daniela, you won't see us again. We will not support you.
So unfair. My sister and husband were quickly disowned by their parents. Seeing their desperate faces, knowing they faced a heavy divorce settlement, gave me a sense of relief. In fact, I had been shouldering my husband's debts. He had accumulated $50,000 in gambling debts, most of which I had repaid. He could erase his debts thanks to me. and I, lovingly, had willingly paid. Looking back, I regret it all. But then, I thought of claiming not only the divorce settlement and child support, but also the money I paid for his debts. That total would come to $200,000. I found the idea of $200,000 far more appealing than a cheating husband. The thought of the money made me excited rather than sad about the divorce. After that, I never returned to the apartment I shared with my husband. My debt-ridden ex and sister moved into a cheaper apartment immediately. I went back to my parents' home to spend the rest of my pregnancy in peace. My sister never apologized until the end, but my husband must have realized his foolishness. He called me repeatedly after I returned to my parents' house. Annoyed, I answered the phone, just once. "What?"
"I'm sorry. I won't cheat again. Please drop the divorce and claim for alimony."
"I won't stop, no matter how much you regret it. I can't love or meet a man who slept with his sister-in-law again. If you don't agree to the divorce and alimony, I'll consult with your workplace."
"Please don't do that."
"Well, just follow whatever the lawyer says. I'm busy with childbirth, so don't contact me again."
"Wait, if it stays like this, everyone at work will know about the divorce."
"If you agree to the divorce and pay the alimony, I might as well quit my job. Think carefully about your future." With that, I hung up. I consulted with a lawyer and filed for divorce and a claim for alimony. My husband, well regarded at work, immediately agreed to the divorce and the payment of the claimed $200,000. My ex-husband and sister moved to a cheaper apartment filled with debts. With nowhere else to go and no one else to rely on, they had to support each other. My ex-husband did part-time day jobs on his days off to pay off debts and lived barely making ends meet. My sister quit her part-time job in the apparel industry and now works in the nightlife industry. My ex-husband still wears his wedding ring, pretending at work that he isn't divorced.
"People say your husband talks happily about the baby being born."
Yeah. I agreed to the conversation with my colleague nonchalantly, as I had to get the alimony. If he was so keen on maintaining his facade, he shouldn't have cheated. I don't care if he continues to lie in the future. As for me, I gave birth to a healthy boy on the due date. He looks just like me. The overwhelming love made me cry. Without a father, I resolved to raise him well on my own.